Welcome everybody. Y'all ready for this? The Hustle. My name is Steve Aramopoulos, and these are my co-hosts.
I'm Talia.
And I'm Tech Luciano. You may have heard me on radio, you may have never heard of me at all, but that's okay.
Cause y'all gon' learn today. Your whole life was a struggle, had to make it out the jungle. This is a show for you. Welcome to the hustle. Under pressure, never break a fold. Keep chasing your goals until you blow. Now, welcome to the hustle.
Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Hustle Podcast.
Yep.
And today we have a very special guest. I say this every single fucking episode.
But he doesn't
He really does. I feel great.
Because I consider every guest a special guest. You're not on the Hustle Podcast for no reason.
You're not wrong.
Special. You're special. That's why you're on the Hustle Podcast.
Yeah.
Today we have a mixed martial artist in the building.
Mm-hmm.
The brother of one of the greatest coaches in the MMA game.
Yeah.
Tristar Gym.
Yeah.
We got Aiemann Zahabi in the building, guys. UFC Bantamweight fighter.
Thank you for saying that.
I want you to spruce it up a little
No,
bit.
I mean, my whole thing was I didn't want to do the intro. I was like, this is Firas's brother because he's his own man. Shout out to Firas, same way. But, we have a current UFC bantamweight contender on the show. So, man, we're happy to have you, bro. It's an honor and a pleasure for us.
Thank you, man. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, man. This is it's big for us. It's a big moment. So we're real
It's a
happy.
big moment for me, man. I'm happy to be here.
The boys are having a field day with this.
It was 2 weeks ago. It was two weeks ago. I was watching Fight Night.
Yeah.
I saw you fighting.
Yeah.
Now you're sitting in the chair.
Yeah, man.
So I feel good
Thank
right
you,
now.
man. I'm happy to be here, man. In Montrealers, I always love to support the locals, man.
Thank you.
100%.
Thank you.
We got to push each other on the world stage.
Exactly.
Is it 4 in a row right now?
4 in a row, man.
4 in a row, baby.
Yeah,
4 in a row.
I'm the first Canadian in the last 10 years to win 4 in a row in the UFC. That's not GSP, Roy McDonald, or Olivier Aubin-Mercier.
Yeah, that's what we just talked about.
Part of that group. So I'm part of a special group now, which is really great.
That's a milestone, bro.
Yeah, it's great.
That's
It's really,
a milestone.
I was a little worried because I was watching the pre-workouts, the preps for Javid.
Okay, I didn't see those.
Yeah, they were on YouTube and everything.
Oh, you're talking about his vlog, like his
like before the fight.
Yeah, yeah.
Everything. And I saw he had fucking Jake Shields. He had all these people.
Yeah,
That he
yeah.
was,
I got GSP, man.
Yeah,
course, don't get me wrong.
GSP, Jake Shields,
yeah,
brother.
we got the greatest of the greatest. Don't get me wrong, but I'm
Yeah.
seeing this guy like he looks like he's
He's good.
He's gonna give you some trouble.
Yeah,
I know like a lot of his fights do end in decision,
yeah.
and the fact that it did go to decision, I'm like, I was watching the thing. I'm like, bro, watch, they're gonna end up fucking giving it to the other guy.
And we're going to riot over here.
Yeah.
The decisions are tricky because you never really know the optics, how the fight seems like it's going. But as a fighter, you sparred so many rounds, you've done so many things with so many guys in the room. You kind of have like your own judging system in your mind, so you kind of like have a feel for like how things are going. Plus, in between rounds, your corner's telling you like whether you're up or down, like what they think, But like when I dropped him in round 2 to one knee, I was like, okay, I got round 2.
Yeah.
And I knew I kind of lost round 1 because when one time he threw a flying knee, I stepped back, and when he landed, I wanted to rush him. On my rush, he threw a side kick, and he caught me mid-step. So I was only on one leg, so boom, he pushed me on my butt, so I got right back up. So I'm like, the optics for round 1, for sure, he got round 1. So like, I knew it was whoever wins the third wins.
Right.
So I was like, okay, we got to push it in the third. And my brother gave me the funniest advice. He's like, walk forward, but keep your left hand down. Walk forward, keep your hand down. I was like, damn, this is crazy advice. Well, let's go. Let's do it. But in the end, he wanted me to put my hand down to protect my body from the side kicks and then to walk him down because we needed to win the round because it was so close.
Yeah, you needed that ring control, the octagon control.
Octagon control. But the number one criteria now is damage.
Yeah.
And if damage is equal, then they go to the next criteria. So if you win the damage clearly, they don't care about the rest. So like they don't care if you're backing up. If you're backing up, but you're scoring big damage-wise,
Right.
that's the only thing that matters.
That's relatively new, no? The whole damage.
Yeah, that's been like a few years only. So what's weird is that depending where the fights are and depending how much experience the judges have,
Well, that's
the
the big
scoring
one.
is all over the place.
That's the big one.
That's where
we've
the screw
seen
drops.
some robberies
Yeah.
happen, bro. Like some real robberies, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's where like things are a little iffy. But in Vegas, those judges are much better because they get more fights. They get more experience by judging more fights. So you have a better chance in Vegas than you would somewhere else. Let's say you go to Halifax or whatever. They're not judging in fights, So like you have a better chance in Vegas. And in round 3, I really pushed the pace and he started fading hard. And I would look like I was the fresher fighter and I was landing the big shots. His style is more like volume, touch and go. So he threw like 50 strikes more than me, but I landed 20 strikes more than him, and my strikes were more impactful. So was very confident going into the decision, but you never really know.
You never know what the
never know,
judges. Yeah.
Look, I think I remember who the fighter was, the one that you fought right before. That
Yeah.
Asian guy. I'm gonna
Yeah,
say
yeah.
Asian, just
Yeah,
so-
it's Mongolian.
Mongolian guy.
from China, yeah.
When you knocked him out.
Yeah. I was so happy.
You know, when you get that knockout, you know the fight's over,
Yeah.
you won this. But then when you take it to the judges' scorecards, you got to stand there and you got to wait for
The hand, yeah.
the hand raise. You know what I mean? It's a little different.
It's definitely different. It's always a question mark because there might be a screw job. You know?
So let's slow it down. So in that moment, right, you're standing there, the ref's got your hand, the ref's got the other guy's hand, and
Yeah.
you're waiting for that decision. What's going through your mind in that moment?
Well, because like I fought in Halifax and I lost a really close decision, but I thought I won. Like even after round 1, my brother's like, okay, you got round 1. After round 2, he's like, you got round 2. And round 3, I lost round 3. So going to decision, I don't even have to worry about it.
you're
I
like
know
2
my
to
hands
3.
are gonna be raised, and
Right.
plus we're in Canada. I was like, okay, like this is mine. And they didn't raise my hand; they raised his hand. I was in total shock. I was like, what the hell is happening? And then my brother's like, okay, it's fine. They didn't give it to you, but like you should take the fight as you won because like in my eyes you won, whatever, blah blah. So then after this fight, I was like, man, there might be that chance, even though I'm pretty sure I won 2 out of 3. If they don't get it right, they don't get it right. You know, that's life.
Yeah.
But in the end, I think they got it right. And I feel like even which was good is like, if you know this about MMA, a lot of the journalists, they put their scorecards up. So like there's this website that tells you like, oh, what media outlets, how they scored the fight. And the vast majority gave it to me. So like 10 out of 13 media outlets gave it to me. So and I was like, yeah, it's pretty obvious.
You were the underdog, no, on that fight.
I was huge underdog, man. Huge. Like I ended up like the average was plus 675 or something, but I ended at like plus 900.
Really?
After round 1, I was plus 1600.
A lot of
So
people
like
made some
a lot of people made money, a lot of people lost money. Yeah, so the odds were terrible. But like the way my friends, like I don't know anything about gambling, like betting, like on that. But one of my friends explained to me that it wasn't the odds makers that did it. Like the odds makers only had me at plus 165. So the money that was coming in was just all on
changing
Javi.
it,
But
yeah,
the
exactly.
opening bet, it was pretty close. So it is what it is.
That's crazy.
Speaking of knockouts,
Yeah.
that Rodriguez knockout,
Yeah.
dude. Like the way you slept that guy,
Yeah.
it literally looked like he got tucked into bed.
Yeah, he
I
was
don't know
like,
if people-
that's actually what he tweeted after. He's like, I just wanted to take a nap mid-fight.
I don't know if you saw.
You gave him that chance.
yeah.
You gotta check out that fight.
Yeah.
Like literally, when he got knocked out, like when he planted himself on the ground, it's like you know when you sleep
sleeping
on the
on his
side
arm,
of your
it was
bed
like this. Yeah.
bro, he looked like he fell asleep.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it was really crazy. That fight like changed my whole life basically because I had lost 2 in a row going into that one, and it was the last fight on my contract, and it was my first UFC contract. So you
Making a
make
break.
no money, you make nothing in the first UFC contract. You make very little money. So it was make it or break. I was about to like lose my job if I lost this fight. So I go to the weigh-ins, and the weigh-ins are always the morning before the fight. And I get on the scale and I make weight, and he was like 3 dudes behind me because it's like first come first serve, like right. So he weighs on the scale. He's like over by 5 pounds. I'm like, oh, fight's off. Done. He's like, there's no fight, right? So I go sit down, and me and my brother are waiting. We're like, that's 5 pounds a lot. But how it works is you have 2 hours from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. You can make weight. So Sean Shelby comes to me. He's like, okay, the guy missed weight. I'm like, yeah, I heard. He's like, what do you want to do? I'm like, well, send him back. I'm like, he's like 26 years old. I'm 30 something.
can do
I
it.
made weight. He can make it, man. I go send him in the sauna. He's like, he doesn't want to do it anymore.
Wow.
Like, he doesn't want to do anymore. He's young, man. Like, I don't understand.
Catch weight, forfeit some of the purse. No?
So I'm
That's
like-
what I was gonna say.
so I
You
was
get
like-
some of that purse.
Yeah. So he's like, okay, I'm going to give you the purse, some of his purse. I'm like, listen, he's not making much. And 1 or 2 pounds, I take it.
Yeah.
But 5 pounds is another weight class now. It's way too much. And the dehydration really affects you. So that's why I wanted him to suffer.
Yeah, that was
at
my
least.
next question, yeah.
So if he lost 3 pounds but still missed, but it was 2 pounds over, I would feel better because I know he went through hell.
Yeah.
You know, and he's got to rehydrate as much as me. But now he gets 5 pound leeway, and it makes a big difference. So then I was hesitating. So the matchmaker was like, okay, what if I give you a new contract now? I up your money. And I was like, okay, great. That's good. He's like, and I'll give you some of his purse. So he gave me some of his purse. He re-upped me with the new money. So I was really, really happy. And I was like, okay, I'll sign. So I signed it. Boom. Then when I started rehydrating, I started throwing up. I felt like I was gonna get a cramp in my leg, and they give you this special thing. It's called a hot shot, and it's basically like tons of sodium, but it's spicy, very spicy. And I didn't expect the spice, so I took it. I'm like, oh man, like it started burning me, like started getting like acid reflux. I don't know what was killing me inside.
It was just working
so I
its way
started
back up.
throwing up what I drank and all this stuff. So then they send me like the paramedics. I'm like, no, I just signed a new contract. I'm fighting, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And then I ended up giving me some bread. I had some bread and whatever. So I go in the cage. I knock the guy out. Bang! I was like, oh my God. So I made so much more money because they gave me the new contract. So I got my win, my show. A few hours later, I see on Twitter, boom, I got the 50 G's.
Jeez.
50 G's.
I
They
called
know.
my wife. I'm like, babe, we got the 50 G's, blah, blah, blah. She's like, oh my God, that's incredible. And I just bought a house 2 weeks before. I didn't even go visit the house. Like I told my wife, go visit because I have the fight, I have to train, I have all this stuff. And I bought the house before even the fight started. So then the guy missed weight, all this stuff. Boom. Then they give me the 50,000. I call my wife. First thing she tells me, she's like, oh, you got the bonus. We can redo the kitchen. I'm like, I'm very busy. I got to go. Bye. So I hang up. I come home. We redid the kitchen.
Happy wife, happy life, brother.
Spent all the money before I got home.
That's it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's how it goes.
Yeah,
that
That's how it
burger.
goes.
Yeah.
And look, we have that 50 G's on the table.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's counterfeit, but you know, take your chances
Not
if you
even
want to.
Canadian.
You know,
Did you get that stack in the? Because sometimes he gives out that stack in the.
No, man, they don't give you no stacks. They take 30% off the top, the federal government, man.
yeah,
They take the money, they take their taxes first, then you get the, 2 days later.
30 G's there.
Yeah.
well, I mean, hey, man, it's still 30 G's, bro.
Yeah.
You know?
It's nice, yeah.
Yeah, it's
great.
you know,
It's great. And it's actually helpful because, like, let's say they take the money, they take the taxes first, I don't have to worry about it. I could spend my money, like, they already took their cut.
exactly.
Let me ask because I'm not really familiar
Yeah,
with
butt
this
in, Taz.
world.
Yeah.
So I'm just letting you guys have fun with this. But what made you start fighting? What was that spark for you that was like, I want to beat people up?
Well, like, I started training because, like, I was going to go to high school and my dad wanted me to learn how to fight so I don't get bullied in school and whatever. But then what made me want to go pro is that I was getting really, really good at a young age, and I started covering my brother's classes from like 16 years old. I started teaching the classes at the gym whenever he would fly out. By the time I was 18, I was training the pros. I was holding pads for them and whatever. Then they started asking me, oh, can you fly out? Because my brother would have like one guy fighting and have another guy on a different show somewhere else. So they're like, oh, okay, your brother can't be there. Can you be there? So I went from assistant coach to like running the corners with these guys.
Yeah.
By the time I was at 21, I was in university. I was in McGill, and I was flying like twice a month or once a month for like a week at a time. So my grades started dipping, and I had a choice to make. I'm like, either I become an accountant or I go pro. I'm like, I can't do both. So I had a meeting with my brother. I'm like, listen, man, I coach these guys. I can do what they do. Like, I can take a chance. He's like, okay, it's a great idea. He's like, what's your plan? I said, my plan is if I don't make it to the UFC by 30, I go back to school. I get an accounting degree. And I was 21 or 22 at the time. He's like, okay, let's do it. So I said, okay, great. And then I signed with the UFC at 29.
That's
I
crazy.
just made the deal.
Yeah,
just
at the skin of your teeth, bro.
Yeah.
That's
Exactly.
great, man. That's
So
crazy.
Super happy about that.
So what was that road like? Because if I'm not mistaken, I'm pretty sure I saw you in Fight Quest like once or twice.
Yeah,
no?
I fought in Laval. Yeah,
And Ganawagi as well, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's where I saw you. Yeah, I saw one of those fights, bro, and I was like, fucking, I was hyped that night for sure. You won.
Yeah. I won all my amateur fights.
Yeah.
I didn't lose in the amateurs. First time I lost was Madison Square Garden, New York City.
That's I wonder,
Which is,
Bisping GSP.
Yeah, Bisping GSP, which is kind of heartbreaking for me because, like, that night was supposed to be GSP's coming back. He's gonna get his second championship in a different weight class, right? And I was the first fighter on the card. He was the last fighter on the card, so it's gonna be like him passing the torch on to me.
Yeah.
And then I was very arrogant at the time because I had never lost, and I hadn't lost, and I've been fighting since a long time. Like I was fighting for like 10 years already, and I don't lose. So I was getting really cocky, and I was on my way to win a decision against this guy in New York. And after round 2, my brother told me, he's like, this guy's got nothing for you. Step on the gas. Like we crush him. Like this is it. And in round 1 and 2, like every time he hit me, I felt like it was like a 12-year-old hitting me. Like he had no power, man. I was like, I could eat this guy up, you know? So I step on the gas and I start pushing the pace. Boom, boom, boom. I'm working him. But then I was getting so confident, so arrogant that I lost my defensive responsibility. So I was hitting him without even covering back. And that's where my downfall, because I got him all the way up to the cage and I shoved him and he was going to bounce off the cage. Like I know this. I've seen this before in practice so many times. Once he hits that cage, he's coming back. And I told myself, and it was the first time I ever spoke to myself in the fight. I said, one more left hook, he's done. And boom, I wake up, I'm in the ambulance.
Come
I'm like,
on.
oh my God. Oh, and I look at one of my cornermen's in there with me, my buddy Zach. I'm like, Zach, what happened? He's like, what do you mean? He's like, you lost. I'm like, no, I couldn't believe it, man. And like, if you watch the footage, you see me in the cage when I wake up, I stand up, I talk to my brother, they walk me backstage, and my wife was in the crowd. She was in the crowd, and she ran down. Security was trying to stop her. She's like, that's my husband, that's my husband. So they're like, okay, they grabbed her, they brought her all the way backstage. She ended up in the ambulance with me. And she came to see me, and I have like flashes of like when I was talking to the doctor and I saw my wife there. My brother's like telling my wife, what are you doing back here? So, but like, I don't remember much. Like, there's like 15 minutes of like memory that I lost.
yeah.
That I only have like little moments.
I was actually going to ask you about that. I wanted to know if it's true what they say. Like, you kind of, there's that lost time in between, you know?
It's a brutality, but there was no pain. Like, the knockouts don't hurt.
Yeah.
You know, when you go out, you don't,
Yeah,
you
you're
know,
out.
there's,
For
there's
yourself.
no,
That
there's no
happened to me.
pain.
I'd be like, ugh, I was
Yeah,
hurting.
no, there's no pain, but there's the dizziness. You're worried about concussions, symptoms, and whatever. So I went through the whole concussion protocol. Actually, one of my friends hooked me up with a doctor at McGill University, and then another doctor at Santa Cabrini. So I saw these two specialists, and then they got me back on my feet. Yeah.
So after that first loss, though, right? Because, like you said, you're riding a wave. You're undefeated for all these years, right?
it's great.
You're on top of the world, and then you kind of get that win, you know, taken out of your sails a little bit. What was it like going into your next fight after that? I mean, like, it must have weighed on your confidence, right?
It was hell. That's why I lost. No, it was. I thought I was fine, so I took like 18 months to come back because I was really worried about like the long-term effects of concussion,
CTE and stuff, right?
and all that, right? So I took like a really good protocol, and I had like really good doctors follow me. So they made sure I was physically okay, but I didn't get the mind right. So like I was sparring with the guys at the gym, and I thought I was confident, but I didn't go as hard as I normally did, and I didn't realize that I was, and I thought I was. And when they closed the door on me in Ottawa, like when they closed the cage door, I was like, oh, I didn't actually go hard enough in the gym. So I kind of fought like a shell of myself in that fight. Even with that, the first 2 rounds, I still think I did enough because I got the takedowns in the fight. I got the back fist. I landed the bigger strikes. Like according to the judging criteria, I thought I did enough the first 2 rounds. And then my brother was telling me, yeah, you won round 1. Okay, no problem. Okay, good. Then I won round 2. Then it's like, okay, I won these 2 rounds. I was like, okay, you know what? Coast round 3. Take round 3 off. Let's just bag this one in. We'll build the confidence in the next one. And because I coasted, he won round 3. And they ended up giving him either round 1 or 2. I can't remember which one, but they gave him one of the other rounds.
Right.
So the way it was scored was so weird too. One of the rounds, one judge gave it to me, 2 judges gave it to him. And then the second round, it was those 2 judges that gave it to him, gave it to me, and the judge that gave me round 1 gave it to him. So like it made no sense. Like when you look at it on paper, it shouldn't be like that. How are 2 judges always judging the same?
Right.
And they're flipping it 50-50.
It's almost sketchy.
It's
if you think
sketchy.
about
That
it.
was
Yeah,
a sketchy
yeah,
night
yeah,
for me.
Yeah.
For me, like people can say whatever they want. That's how I know how the things are scored. And for me, I should have won, but I had to like dig deep for a while after, and I was looking for the solution. I'm like, what's the answer? What's the answer? And like I read a lot of books and like on self-improvement, self-help, motivation. Like I follow a lot of these guys, and I stumbled on this book. It's called The Tools, and one of the tools that's given is I love the pain will set me free. I love the pain will set me free. But I didn't have a problem with pain. I had the fear, like getting into a car crash. I had the fear of getting KO'd again. That was the biggest thing. So I just switched it to I love the fear will set me free. And I told myself that every day, until now. When I fought this last time, I didn't have to say it anymore. I was like, now my new mantra is I'm living the dream. Things don't matter. Like I already made it. And there's no more financial burden because now I'm on my 3rd contract in the UFC. So I got past the first one, which was not great. I got past to the second one, which is not bad. And now this one is pretty good.
Yeah.
So I'm really happy. So win or lose, there was less pressure. So I was able to be more myself. And actually my fight before Ricky Tercios, GSP was backstage with me. He was supposed to corner me for the fight, but somebody 2 guys pulled out from the show. So they changed my spot on the card. So GSP had a charity event. Because I was fighting early, he was going to make it. But when they changed it to later, he couldn't make it.
Right.
So he just came to say hi to me while I was warming up. And he told me, he's like, when it comes to you just have to be yourself. Don't try to be more and don't be less. He's like, Aiemann Zahabi is going to win. But if you're less than yourself or you're trying to be more than yourself, you're going to make a mistake. Don't make a mistake. Just be you. And ever since then, I was like, yeah, I just got to be myself.
That's actually like really dope life advice though.
Yeah.
Even outside of fighting, just, you know, like how many times do even, you know what, I'll go off on a little tangent here. It won't take too long, I promise.
go,
but
go.
like
So I'm here for
even
this.
at the beginning of this podcast, I find like I was searching kind of for like an identity on the pod. I think we all went through it, to be honest, right? Like we're not even 100 episodes in, so it's still fairly new. But like I found myself almost acting on the podcast a little bit rather than just being who I am. I was trying to be like Joey Diaz or trying to be like, you know, this guy and that guy, and just like putting it all together into what I thought would be entertaining. Whereas like if I would have just been who I was the whole time, I think we would have got our chemistry together a lot sooner. But like just in life in general, I think that's like really fucking good, solid advice, man. Because I think like sometimes, you know, we tend to think of too much how everybody else sees us instead of how we see ourselves. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? Yeah, that's solid advice, man. Shout out to George. He's he's
for
a man of wisdom, apparently.
100%.
Yeah. I mean, for sure.
Yeah, and there's a really interesting book. It's called Psycho-Cybernetics, and it's basically a surgeon who wrote this book. And his whole thing was, a lot of times people came to see him for plastic surgery, and what he would do is try to convince him not to get the plastic surgery. And his whole thing was diving into your self-image. So he'd have these people coming in, they want to fix their nose. But then he was realizing if you fix their nose, then they find something wrong with their cheekbones. And it becomes this like never-ending spiral
you look like Joan
of not
Rivers.
being satisfied with yourself, and you become depressed.
Right.
So he wrote this book about teaching people to appreciate themselves and their uniqueness of their different aspects of the way they look. But then he was also talking about like same thing for athletes or competitors or anybody who wants to strive to do something great. You have to build this self-image about yourself, and you have to have that confidence built on your competence, you know? So the more you do things, the more competent you are, the more confident you will be. So you don't want to be confident without having actually anything of skill or of matter. So you have to train yourself. You have to get good. You have to put in the effort. You have to hustle. Exactly. You have to do all these different things.
See what he did there?
To be able to have the confidence, because confidence only really matters if you have something to back it up, you know? So that's another interesting book that I used to help me like build it up, because I had the skills, but I lost that confidence in my competence.
Do you think, like you said, losing the confidence, that first fight, you got knocked out?
Yeah.
Then going into the second one, you played it safe.
Yeah, I played it safe. Yeah.
Played
brutal.
it safe because maybe you, deep down, subconsciously, you're like, I don't want to get knocked out again.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's definitely...
Yeah, but then I realized I actually hate the decision loss more than the knockout loss. Because on the
you want that on
knockout
your
loss,
shield.
everyone spoke good about me.
Yeah.
The decision loss, they're like, oh, you coasted, you took your foot off the pedal, this and that. I was like, why would I do that? You know, and like I've made a promise to myself to never do that again. You know, so always fight my best and fight till the end. It's better to go out on your shield. Really, it is.
Yeah.
Because if you think about it, like I know CTE is like a big thing, and there's all these talks about concussions, but in MMA we take less blows than boxers. So let's say like an average like world-class boxing fights, it's 12 rounds, right? They land about 300 something punches every
It's
fight.
only strikes, right?
It's only strikes, and it's a lot of them to the head. Whereas in MMA, like my last fight, he hit me 60 times, and I'm like, it's not that many punches, you know. And he didn't hit me with a lot of big ones either. Like if you watch, like I'm super defensively responsible in the fight too. And there's a lot of wrestling and grappling, not in my fight, but in MMA fights in general. So a lot of MMA guys, they don't end up messed up really bad. Like GSP's great, and you know he's fought a lot.
Yeah.
And Khabib's great, and a lot of these guys, they're still all there. So I think like the concussion problems, they might be the exception and not the rule in MMA. You know, in my opinion.
I think it's like more like on a Ferguson type guy, you know what I mean?
Like a Ferguson, like but that's more like an exception. Like
That's
how
a
many
lot of
guys are
damage right there.
like
Exactly.
Ferguson?
Yeah.
Not that many.
And how many guys fight like Ferguson too at the end of the day? I mean, in my opinion, I don't think he should be fighting anymore, but it's not obviously not my decision to make, right?
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
it's
like
on...
a lot of my friends, though, like my mentors, like my fighting mentors, they're all fine. Like Yves Jabouin is fine, Thierry Canville is fine, David Loiseau is fine, GSP is fine. Like so many of the guys that I saw that were great that made it to the UFC, they're doing great. Like Patrick Cote, like doesn't sound like he has concussion issues.
Right.
Like, he's doing great. I feel like he's fine. Like, he doesn't have that much damage. Like a lot of these great Canadian fighters that I know personally, they're fine. You know, they move on to another career. And
So
they're
maybe
doing
it's
great.
a little bit overblown.
Yeah, that's what I'm telling myself. So let's hope it's true.
We'll see in like
I got a
20
wife
years,
and kids.
right?
You know what I mean? But
yeah.
like, I still now I try to be defensively responsible and win the fights the best way I can.
Yeah.
And see, like this guy, like if you watch my last fight, like I was trying to knock him out. Like you see the first 1-2 I threw, like I was going for a home run. Like I was ready to put him out. But he's playing that defensive thing too. Like he's trying to outpoint me in a way too. But I felt like I was the dangerous one in that fight. Like I had more chances of finishing him than he had of finishing me in that one. even with like his wrestling, when he shot in, I'm the one with the submission attempt. He had none, you know. So like, I don't know.
My fascination with like interviewing every fighter that we've had, and I kind of like always want to know this, right? As like an avid fan, which you are too, you not so much, but you'll get there eventually. Is I kind of like to delve into the mind of the fighter during the fight, right? So like my whole thing is like how like deep into a fight or how early into a fight even do you know I got this guy? Like I got him.
Oh man, you don't know, man. Like my mind is blank. The only time I've ever thought in the fight was that one time I told myself I'm gonna throw out a left hook. And that is because the thing is, like I was telling you about that book, Psycho-Cybernetics. Yeah. He also explains how your subconscious is a supercomputer, and it analyzes everything much faster than your conscious. So if you're in your conscious, you're thinking and you're playing the game, your reflexes are way too slow. Because the guy who's tapped in and he's going on the supercomputer, he's running on the supercomputer, his reaction time is way faster than you. You ever try to play Fortnite? These kids, bro, these 12-year-old kids, but
my kids demolish it.
But they're in that game and they're faster than you because me, I'm older. I'm trying to learn the game. I'm playing with my nephews and whatever. I'm getting smoked here, man.
Same here.
But I'm too slow. But the guys who are zoned in, they're running at the fastest speed, right? Because you have your computer in there. So I learned that lesson in New York. I don't do it anymore. Like now I don't think about the fights. The only time I have a little bit of thought is in between rounds. I'm trying to pay attention to my brother saying. But even then, like, if you watch the last fight, like I open the water bottle, I drink it, I pour myself the ball water to cool me off, I fucking close it back, I put it in the bucket. I'm there. Yeah. When it's time to get up, I start my rocking back and forth and I'm just zoning back in. I have to tap in.
That's fascinating, bro. That is fascinating because it's a matter of milliseconds in a fight, right? Like that 2 seconds where you're thinking is where he throws that hook and then you're out.
The gloves are so small, and you know you can get hit with an elbow and a knee that you can go out with any one of these punches. You know, so that the defensive responsibility really plays an X factor in there. So that's why you have to be as sharp as you can in your mind. And that's the only reason why I find like I got knocked out is because I took myself out for that moment to speak to myself, and I didn't see the elbow.
Just that millisecond.
The elbow. Listen. I don't call it a fluke. A lot of people tell me, oh, it's just a fluke, but it's my fault. In the end, it's 50% me, 50% him. Like I took my attention off for a second and he decided to throw the elbow. Right. That's he good on him, bad on me on this one. You know, but if I was tapped in, I don't know.
It's big of you too, though, to be able even to admit that, because a lot of people can. A lot of people are so caught up in their whatever you want to call it, delusion of self or whatever, that they'll never be able to admit guilt. So I mean, I imagine you grew as a fighter because of that moment.
Yeah, for sure. You know, you can only. I got this really good quote like a few weeks ago, was you can only be as good as sorry, how did she say it? She said something like, the more truth you can accept about yourself, the further you can grow, the more you can grow. And that's the thing about fighting is it's only me and him. So like all the journalists talking about me, everyone's saying I'm going to lose this guy, blah, blah, he's 14-0, he's going to smoke him, he's going to smoke and this, that. It doesn't matter because in the end, he has to fight me and I'm going to fight him. Yeah. And the fans can't say nothing and they can't do nothing. Ain't nobody interceding and getting involved, and I'm going to handle my business. You know, he was in there and he was talking to me in my mind. I was just saying, okay, if you're so good, beat me. Don't talk to me, beat me. Because when I missed the first big right hand, he's like, whoa, brother, take it easy. You're loading too much. Like, oh, wow. Makes some joke. Yeah. And then one time he landed like I threw another big left, and he hit me with he touched me with a knee, and he goes, oh, and then I just punched him right in the face as he was going, oh, boom, I jabbed him. And I was like, hey, man, we're fighting. Like, I don't, as much shit as you want to talk, I'm here, I'm doing work. I'm here to work. That's it.
Like, I think what I want to ask you before, when you kept jumping in.
Sorry, buddy. I'm excited.
We could do a fist fight right here. We'll figure it out.
I mean, I'll win, Steve.
You're a family man. You have kids. You got your wife. What do you think about you being in the sport? And
my daughters, they love it. My wife, she loves it, man. Okay. She loves it. Like, my wife's been to every one of my fights since I'm 15. So we were friends for a long time. And she only stopped coming to my fights because my first fight during COVID, she couldn't come because there weren't allowing people to travel just for like that. I was traveling for work, so I was able to go. And because I traveled alone with COVID without my group, because usually when I go fight, I come with a crew. Like, I roll deep usually. Because that's one of my mentors is Miguel Torres, and he was like a world champion in WEC before the UFC took the Bantamweight class, and like he rolled deep, man. So like I learned that from him. So I was always rolling my crew. Like my first fight in the UFC, we were like 40 people. You know, it was great. It's fun. But then when I went to the COVID fight, and I got stuck in my hotel room because you're not allowed to go anywhere. I loved it because that's how I got the Draco knockout, bro. Every day, me and my crew, it was just me, my brother, and Neil. We'd watch my opponent's fights. Then we'd watch my fight. And we'd watch his fight. And then I watch my fight. And I was like, oh, wait, there's these holes that we didn't realize last week or a few weeks ago. And maybe I should do this. And then I actually got better in those 4 days, more prepared for that fight than I have ever before a fight.
You're zoning in at that
I
point.
zoned in, man.
Yeah.
So then I won that one. I was like, oh, that's great. So then I did it again for the Ricky fight. And I was like, oh, it's really working. So I tell my wife, no, you're not coming no more. Nobody's coming. I don't invite anybody now.
Yeah.
I go lean and mean. Lean and mean, So I'm happy I discovered that too. So COVID was kind of like a blessing for me. Now I found a way to zone in and get even better. So that's why I think my performances have been so good, is because I even get to zone in further in the fight week.
Did you get to fight with the no crowd? Did you do that?
Yeah, I did
at
it,
the
yeah.
Apex. What was that like?
It was great. I loved it.
Really?
I love it because, look, I'm not in it for the crowd. I'm in it for me, man. Like, fighting is my dream. It's not my kid's dream. It's not my wife's dream. It's nobody's dream. It's my dream. So whether there's a crowd there or there's no crowd there, it's an accomplishment for me. Like, for me, it's like my life journey. This is what I love. And it's funny because I was just telling one of my friends the other day is that every time I do an interview, they always tell me, oh, but you're so old. You're 36 years old. I'm like, no, man, I'm 36 years young. Okay. And it shouldn't be doubting me because of my age. What should be is like, man, how come at 33, 34, 35, you never quit? Why didn't you quit? Why didn't you stop? Like, why didn't you go and make more money doing something else? Because I can make money doing something else. If you want to be a truck driver, man, you can make money. You want to do plumbing, you can make money. It's not hard making money. It's hard finding something you love to do. Yeah. And I don't want to be a quitter. I don't want to retire on 2-fight losing streak. And I want to be known to be somebody who's a good fighter. And now I'm in the top 20 in the world. Why don't they tell me like, oh, how great is that he never quit? No, they just want to say, he's old. Wait, I might surprise you again. I don't know.
I think you will.
We're looking for number 5.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
That'd be great, man.
Fuck.
Is there anything in the pipeline for the next match, or you don't know?
Yeah, no, not yet, because I'm fasting now. It's Ramadan.
True.
Yeah, so I got nothing planned, but I also spoke with the UFC because a lot of these guys, they go to the PI, and I haven't gone yet. And like my last opponent, Javed, he lives in Vegas. So he gets access to the PI like crazy. So like their nutrition team is on him. He gets access to the weightlifting coaches and the conditioning coaches. They're making sure he's top notch. They have free food for him. They meal prep his thing. It's all free.
Wow.
Right? I mean, he comes from a hard place for sure. Like the guy is a beast. Like I'm not talking bad about him. I'm just saying that there's a lot of perks at the UFC PI.
Yeah.
And they have all these special machines like that the NFL has and the NHL has to test you in a way to optimize your physicality so that you perform your best. So I asked the UFC, I'm like, look, before I take my next fight, I want to go to the PI and I want them to run all the tests on me and give me the programs, and I'll do the exercises here. Yeah. And I can come back once a month, for a few days, and we can re-up and see, okay, this is your progress, this is that, blah, blah, blah. So I want to be in like tip-top physical shape because I feel like that the last missing piece is that physicality, because I work a lot on my skills. But even though I made this guy gas, though. Like, he thought I was going to get tired. I got him. Like, if you listen to the commentator, they said he thought I don't throw a lot because I'm afraid to get tired. But he got tired, which is like a nice little cherry on top of the cake for me.
Let me ask.
Yeah.
Hi, guys.
Hey, man.
I'm still here.
We know. We know.
You said you have kids, right? You have daughters?
Yeah, 2 daughters. Twin girls.
Daughters? Twins.
Wow.
The best.
God bless, bro.
Yeah. I asked my wife for a year before she got pregnant. I'm like, please just give me twins for my career, please. 2 birds, 1 stone. Give it to me. She delivered.
Get it out the way. She did.
Solid wife. Let me tell you.
Yeah.
I was going to ask, since you have 2 little girls, would you ever encourage them to get into the fighting scene?
Yeah, kids is interesting because they have to learn how to fight. That's for sure. If they choose to fight later professionally, it's up to them. But it's like anything, man. Like you don't choose what your kids are really gonna do. So you gotta offer them these opportunities, and they're gonna walk through the doors they walk through. And you have to be at peace with that. So you have to do your best to guide them as they grow, right? Some people call it brainwashing, some people call it guiding. It is what it is. But you have to encourage them to do things that you think are gonna benefit them. But then once they turn 13, then they get that rebellious phase where they're gonna go against you. And depending on how that's going to go for me, I don't know what they're going to end up doing. But they're going to have a general base of martial arts just to protect themselves, because girls can be mean too. Yeah. And they might end up
meaner,
and they might have to put a girl in her place or two, So
I could just imagine them fighting each other.
They fight. They wrestle now. They wrestle each other now, and I'm trying to teach them to put people in the blender. So one of the twins comes in the front, one of the twins comes in the back, and they just smash somebody in the middle. So that's like our tactic right now. So it's under construction.
Good to hear. That actually gives me hope because they're not twins, but I have two boys, 7 and 8, so they're almost twins. All they fucking do is fight all the time.
Yeah, that's great.
Each other, like, you know what I mean? And yeah, man, my whole theory with them as when it comes to like fighting in terms of other kids and stuff like that has always been the same. It's like, I don't want you starting problems. So you're not allowed to bully nobody, but if somebody fucks with you or your brother, it's ass whooping time. And I expect you both to be there for one another for the rest of your life.
Everybody should have some level of combat experience. Yeah. And the reason is, you'll never have true confidence when you walk into a room unless you know you can protect yourself. Because there is a level of confidence you have when you know you can handle a situation or two. Yeah. You know, and especially for young kids growing up, like when they go to high school, you don't want your kids to end up being shoved in a locker.
Exactly.
As much as they say, don't hit back and things like that, blah, 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 man, we're animals in the end. Yeah, it's a jungle out there, and the world is tough. And you can ask the people around me, my daughters don't have it easy. They have it rough. And I'm just preparing them because there is a harsh reality out there in the real world, and they ain't gonna get babied by me.
No, and it's you're a better parent for it because you're building character from an early age.
Yeah.
And that's the problem with a lot of, I find like this, I mean, not to pick on you, but like your generation specifically, kind of in that age group is that they're very, not you necessarily, but like they're just very entitled. You know what I mean? And that's just like, that's really the failure of our parents at the end of the day, for an entire generation to be entitled to things because we, you know, had it too easy growing up or whatever it was. Your parents didn't push you to do difficult things. You know, there's a whole bunch of factors that go into it. But like, I think society too also kind of tries to like shy away from that real reality that you talk about that does really exist. As much as we have iPhones and clothes and cars and shelter and restaurants, there is still that primal reality of like, when it's just you and me in a room together and it's man versus man or woman versus woman, like, you know, there's only one of us going to come out on top, and that's real. It's real.
That's 100% real, and it doesn't matter the age, man. From daycare all the way up to when you're working, it's going to matter. Like one of my daughters, it's funny, it's a funny story because when we first brought the girls to daycare, the head of the daycare, she was telling my wife, she's like, listen, at this stage when they're going to start developing teeth and stuff like that, kids are going to bite each other and whatever, blah, blah, blah. So my wife's like, okay, whatever. So as we were leaving, my wife's like, who are these parents? Their kids bite other kids. What animals these people are? I'm like, okay, take it easy. I'm like, it happens. I'm like, because I have nieces and nephews before she had on her side of the family. So like, I've experienced it with them, you know? So I'm like, take it easy. I'm like, you know what? It's something that happens. And then we put my kids in there. Turns out 50% of my wife's kids are biters. One of my daughters, they used to call her La Crocodile because she used to bite all the kids. And then one day Mila got bit and they told us, and my wife's like, yeah, well, you know what? That's what she gets. You know, and like my wife, she learned real quick that like, I'm not teaching them to be violent at that age. Like, I'd say 1 year old or whatever, 18 months. I'm not teaching them to be. They didn't start training yet, and they're biting other kids. It has nothing to do with teething. It's just who they are. And then boys also, they're gonna want to test themselves with other boys, man.
Non-stop.
And then older boys, when they can't test themselves against guys their age, they come and they pick on the younger boys, right? Because they want to feel like a man. They want to feel that power, right? Because they have that test coming up. So it's awkward, but it's a reality everyone has to face, and everyone should be trained. Everybody, man.
I think like we spoke to Thierry, GSP. I've seen in several interviews. It all boils. You said it yourself. It all boils down to the same thing. You train yourself. You learn these techniques to protect yourself.
Yeah.
Like Thierry, before he got into training, he said he never wanted to fight.
Yeah.
And I think GSP said there was one guy in a line or something. He was working as a doorman, and he broke the guy's arm or some shit. And that was the story behind GSP.
Yeah.
Did you have any, like when you got into it, did anybody test you when you finally learned your skills?
People test me all the time, man. Elementary school, this guy wanted to test me because he knew that I was my brother trains or whatever, blah, blah. And at that time, I knew almost nothing. Like, I didn't even start training till I was really in high school. But like, my brothers were training, so I'd watch them. So I had an idea. But the guy wanted to fight me because my brothers trained.
Exactly.
So I was like, okay. So we went out in the yard at school, and it was like, I was in 6th grade. Yeah, I was in 6th grade. And when he came to shove me, I like pushed his arms out of the way. I took his back. I took him down, and I put him in a rear naked choke. Nice. But I was so young and innocent, I didn't want to choke him unconscious. So I'm just holding him. I'm like, I'm not letting you go until you calm down. I'm not letting you go until you calm down. I'm not letting you go until you calm down. Then he's like, he's fighting, but I'm not really choking. I'm just holding his neck. And then he's like, okay. And he calmed down and I let him go, and then that beef was squashed. And then other times I've only got into fights for like backing up a friend. So let's say if it's a one-on-one and then somebody else jumps in, I clear the... I clear the mistake.
Clear the dance floor.
I clear the dance floor for the one-on-one. I've cleared the dance floor a few times.
I bet.
That's life.
Could you imagine getting in a fucking fight with somebody and that's their best friend?
Yeah.
Yeah, seriously.
God, I'm sorry, man.
yeah.
Like, you know?
Like I always say, like the worst places to pick fights with people are Vegas, Brazil.
Yeah. Brazil's terrible.
Montreal, of course, because we got Tristar Gym.
Yeah, you wouldn't do it in Russia, let me tell you.
Russia too. Like for me, it's like the top one is Brazil. I'm afraid like everybody down there knows jiu-jitsu and they're gonna fucking.
The thing about Brazil is, the fitness is in their culture.
Yeah.
Like I went to Brazil for like 5 weeks, and they have along the beach, like they have a huge shoreline. Every quarter mile, there's an outdoor jungle like gym, so you can pump, you can do weights, you can do fitness and all that, and everybody has a 6-pack.
Yeah.
All the women, all the men, they're in incredible shape, but it's part of their culture because they have a beach culture.
Yeah.
So they're always out, right? They're always in their bathing suits. So all the guys are all jacked. And Brazil is split in two. Half of Brazil does Muay Thai only. The other half of Brazil does Jiu-Jitsu and MMA, basically. So, but they're all trained since they're young. It's like all part of their culture, right?
Yeah.
And the Russians too. All the Russians, they do sambo, they do judo, they do wrestling, they do boxing. They have all these amazing athletes all across that. So that's nice. It's part of their culture. In Canada, we don't have it as deep in terms of like in our programming in schools, but somehow we still produce fighters.
Yeah.
Like we produce boxers, kickboxers, MMA guys, every type of martial art, which is interesting that, you know, we don't get much support, but we find a way.
But you know what though about those, especially the two specific countries you name, like Brazil and Russia, like those are hard places.
Yeah.
And like I think people underestimate that a little bit too.
A lot less wokeness over there.
Yeah, well, a lot less wokeness, but also you're picking a fight with a guy that probably doesn't have much, certainly less to lose than you do, probably being from Canada. And I mean, he's seen shit that you can't even imagine. So there's just a coldness to. You know what I mean? It's just you don't want to pick a fight with those guys, bro.
Exactly, man. Look at all the Dagestanis, how good they're doing.
Yeah, exactly. You know what? Just be a fucking nice person. How about that?
Yeah, they have a hard life out there, man.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
It shows. It shows in the cage, man.
Yeah.
What's your opinion on Khabib? You think he's GOAT status?
It's a tough one, man.
Yeah.
I think,
You could give me a political answer if you have to.
Yeah. No, I mean, like for me, it's GSP.
Yeah.
For sure.
I agree,
Right?
though.
But the thing is, I think defending your title really cements your GOAT status.
Yeah, and
because he didn't really defend it
He retired.
that much. In my opinion, he's an all-time great.
Yeah.
He's an all-time great. He's the greatest of all time, like ever to ever do it. He can't say. To me, it's GSP. First of all, he did a 2-division champion thing. Defended his title many times.
Yes.
He didn't lose a fight for years and years against fighting only number one. He cleared his division 2 times.
Yeah.
Another one that's up there is John Jones for sure.
Yeah,
the stain on John Jones for me, the reason why I don't say it is because he got caught on something. I don't know what it was exactly, but he got caught on something, and it was awkward. He's like, no, I'm not on it. But then his brother in the NFL got caught for the same substance.
I think
so then it's like, whoa, wait a second.
I think it was actually estrogen blockers, if I'm not mistaken. Which
but what do you
as
think
a
estrogen
man
blockers
you don't
for?
take unless you just did a cycle of juice. So
yes, it's awkward, right?
yeah.
So that's why. But I mean, he's definitely great. I still think GSP's number one for the accomplishments he did.
Yeah, and I think the fight style too, because if you look, for me, it's always between Anderson just because of the way he did it.
Yeah.
Right. But like, I think George, what's so interesting about George is that he was so tactile in every fight had a specific game plan that you could tell that it was like perfectly crafted, like a mad scientist. Between him and Firas, it was just like a perfectly crafted game plan for every opponent that he executed flawlessly. That's what made him so great.
And he showed a lot of heart. Like even in like when he fought in Montreal against Carlos Condit and he got dropped by that head kick, boom, for like 15 seconds, we thought it was all over.
Yeah.
But then he got up off his back, he powered through, boom, boom, and he ended up going all the way to the decision and winning it.
Yeah.
And like he had that fight with Johnny Hendricks, was a bloody mess. He left that fight, you know, and he's still champion. And he went up after that fight to 185 and he beat Mike Bisping, who was another great champion.
Yeah.
So
after like how many years?
Man, of putting in the work
Yeah.
and the discipline and all that.
Yeah.
And you know, the 2 times he lost, he beat both guys handedly after. And he has for me, in my opinion, he has a better story. It's a better overall arching story. I think Khabib's great. And you know, the thing with like also like some guys give Khabib flack. I don't give him flack because there's still fights anyway. But some of his fights on his record weren't the standard 3 5-minute rounds.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So he has some of his pro fights were a different rule set.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So I don't judge him for that. Like I feel like it doesn't matter because he beat the guys anyway, and he beat them clearly, and there's no doubt. And they finished most of them anyway. I think he finished all of them, and
Sounds
so
about
it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
But some people judge him for that. Is what I'm saying.
That's where I'm a little confused on Khabib's record. Like, how many fights did he actually have in the UFC?
I don't know. You'd have to look it up.
I think it was like
10?
13 or something like that. It might have been
13,
less.
something
Yeah.
like that. No, it
Like
could be
you
13.
said,
I'm not sure.
When defending the title and you're going against number one.
That's
didn't see that.
what for
Yeah.
me
See
cements
that.
goal
Yeah,
status.
I
Like
see
that's why
that.
Anderson is up there too, for sure. Anderson, but the problem for Anderson is he stayed for too long,
Yes.
and then he degraded, and he kept
Yes.
getting beat.
Yes.
And then it's like it's hard for people to hold him as the greatest of all time.
Yeah.
Unless you
He
call him
blemished
the
the
greatest of an era.
Yeah, but that era was incredible.
Yeah, it was
though,
he was
man.
literally
What
at that
a-
time.
What a run!
If he would have retired then, he could have been greatest
Yeah,
of all
I
time
agree.
for sure,
I
easy,
agree.
no doubt.
I agree.
Like, I think the most iconic Khabib fight that we can remember is
Well, Conor for sure.
Against Conor,
Right,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
And those type of fights, well, at the end of the day, it's an exciting fight, it's a money fight. Doesn't really cement your status because you beat Conor, right?
But also, Conor
yeah, it
was
kinda does.
Conor
He's a
was never the
megastar.
same after that.
He is a megastar, but he was never the
megastar,
same
yeah.
after that. And even
Never been close to the same
Yeah.
after that, man.
Yeah. It's weird that he's not back yet.
did anybody see the new Roadhouse?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I didn't see it. I didn't
Yeah,
see that.
it's actually fucking pretty.
Is it good? Yeah.
It's good. Yeah, I'm
saw
gonna
last
watch
night.
it. I'm gonna watch it.
Saw
Even though he
last
talks
night.
mad shit about my brother nonstop, he can't stand it. It's crazy.
He talked shit about Frost,
On Twitter, yeah, he's
Really?
brutal against my brother. Yeah,
but
yeah.
he's just be getting coked up and talking.
That's
shit
exactly
about
what he did. Like
everybody,
one
yeah.
time he did I'm assuming he did something, and then he went on Twitter and talked shit about all the other coaches other than his.
Nice, and
He's
then
talking
deleted
smack,
them.
And then I guess he deleted them. or
Yeah,
whatever.
that seems to be his like. he just-
MO.
and then it comes down. He's like delete.
What do you think about Conor at the moment? Like, the guys.
I'm worried about him, man.
Yeah.
I'm worried about him.
Yeah.
I hope that he can come back in a healthy way, because if he's taking the drugs that they're saying he's taking, and he's abusing the things he's abusing, it might see something serious happen to him in there. Could be bad, because those are the X factors, those are the outliers, those are the exceptions to the rule. Like, I don't know how much coke or any of the other drugs that he's doing affects his brain, and then taking strikes or getting kneed in the face or whatever. I don't know how much that affects your chances of CTE or what's going to happen in terms of a repercussion. Plus, if he got huge.
Yeah, I was.
Is he on something? We don't know 100% for sure.
He was
But he has a massive head all of a sudden.
Yeah,
Your
he
head
was-
doesn't grow
yeah.
after 25 years old. I don't know. Like,
That's
his skull
HGH,
got
brother.
bigger, man.
That's human growth hormone right there. And,
Exactly. And
I'm
so,
no to anyway.
I don't know if that's going to speed up the process of something happening,
Yeah.
but I'm worried about it.
Do you think this Chandler fight is happening or no?
I mean, Chandler's waiting for it, man. He wants that red panty night. That's
But
for sure.
You know what?
100%
Though?
he wants that money
I
fight.
think that's the best possible matchup for Conor.
Yeah, because Chandler too is like he lost
He's
3 in a
wild.
row.
No, but also just the style of fight. Chandler's aggressive. He's going to rush in. Connor's a
both-
master counter striker.
They're both front runners in the sense that they both go hard right away at
Yeah.
the bat. So like they ain't gonna make it out of there. One
No,
of
but
them's going down.
I see Chandler rushing him like he rushes everybody, and Connor's just going to slip and counter, and I think he gets him.
But
I
he
think
lost that
gets him.
style though. Like ever since he fought Mayweather, he lost the karate in and out and has converted his style to like a boxing Philly shell. Like when he fought Dustin, like I don't know why he was fighting Dustin that way. Like if he would have fought Dustin the way he fought Dustin the first time,
Yeah, you would have got him again.
we maybe would have got him easy. Not easy, but you know what I mean. Like he would have like outdone him. Whereas because he fought that new style, Dustin's now in the pocket. Dustin doesn't have to worry about crossing the range. And the whole thing about how he knocked out Aldo was because he forced Aldo to cross that range, and he crushed him when he tried to cross it. But now he fights in, so he lost that magic, which is kind of weird. I don't know.
That's crazy.
Speaking of Dustin, man, like that Saint Denis fight.
Incredible. Even my wife was saying, "Stop the guillotine!
Yeah,
no
yeah,
more
yeah.
guillotines." She's a casual, brother.
Yeah.
But that Saint Denis fight.
I'm such a Dustin fan,
Hit
no?
him, when he clocked him with that one, he dropped him the first time.
I woke up my whole house.
Dude, I went.
Yeah.
Everybody.
Shit.
Yeah.
Everybody was awake. I
Great
was
fight.
screaming, bro. Like I was fucking going nuts.
Like I think he's one of the most entertaining fighters for me. Every time I see Dustin on the card, I already know
It's gonna be a banger.
it's gonna be a banger. Chandler too. Like even though Chandler's
Chandler's-
moving,
yeah.
but every fight that Chandler, it's a bloodbath.
Yeah.
He goes out on the shield if he's wearing out.
Yeah,
you know what I
yeah.
mean? And
But apparently Connor's calling for another rematch with Dustin, which I don't. Why would you do that? I don't.
Nobody
think
wants to see it.
I don't think it's a good idea.
Worth-
No, but even for Connor, I just don't think it's a great
It's
idea.
like
bro.
I mean,
quadrilogy, what is
his
it?
biggest thing in terms of, let's say, like least chance of him getting damage is Nate. If he fights Nate Diaz.
Yeah.
Like that's because Chandler might mess him up.
Yeah.
Chandler's
Yeah,
got
he
the real
fucking hits hard.
KO
Yeah.
power,
Yeah,
whereas
yeah.
Nate, it's more like a volume thing. Volume. And if you fatigue, he'll finish you.
Yeah.
But if you don't fatigue, I doubt he finishes him, man. Because Conor is really good. He's really good.
What do we think about the Jake Paul Mike Tyson vibe?
I was just
Breaks
about
my
to
heart,
ask.
man.
I'm
about
so
that.
sorry.
I was
Okay,
really
hold on.
waiting for my
We're
moment.
gonna rewind.
I was
Go
going
ahead.
to ask if that's
Go ahead.
actually going down
Go
because I
ahead.
haven't seen that. No, that was it. That was all I was going to
All right,
ask.
I
What
tried
do you
to-
think about
Yeah,
that?
it's heartbreaking that he needs to do the fight, Tyson, man. Like, why doesn't he? Doesn't even need. He's a millionaire still.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know why he needs it. I feel bad. Hopefully, it's fixed.
Yeah.
I hope it's scripted. I hope Jake doesn't hit him for real because Jake's juiced up out of his mind for sure. 100% he's juicing. And like, the guy's almost 60. Like, what pride do you have knocking him out? It makes no sense to me, man. It makes no sense. There's so many other guys you can fight. Like,
But do you
this guy
think Tyson could KO him though at this age?
Bro, it's 30-year difference at the end of the
I
day.
mean,
like,
But power,
you see him hitting the bag.
the power's there.
Power's there.
But he's a 30-year-old
But
man.
the
He's
computer is degraded. Like, you know, like one thing we talk about is, so there's different types of speed. So some guys, they are fast. Like you put them on the track, they fly on the track. Some guys have neurological speed. Like, you know, like there's this really cool test online. It's free, where like you look at a screen, and you don't know when the color is gonna flip from blue to green, but you have to click the mouse button. As soon as you see it flip, you have to click it, and it measures your reaction time to the millisecond. And there are guys who have a ridiculously low number. Like when I first did it, I was like, I can't believe the top 10 scores. It's impossible. These guys are not human. They must be robots. They must have hacked the websites,
AI.
and they've got this bullshit going on. But different guys have different reaction speeds. So when you're fighting, when we're telling you that you got to measure the speed in round one, we're not only talking about his physical speed, we're talking about his computer. So when you're dishing out information, different feints and different strikes at the guy,
See how fast he reacts.
how fast can he compute? And then another measure is you have to figure out how many plates he can carry. Okay, so you think the analogy is like, imagine there's two waiters, okay? I'm a waiter, I can carry 9 plates. And you're a waiter, you can carry 4 plates. When I walk up to you and I drop 9 plates on you, 5 hit the ground. So you don't have the capacity I have. But if you drop your 4 plates on me, I carry your 4 and I still got room to run. So my computer it has a larger capacity than yours. So if I run faster and I have a larger capacity, I should smoke you. But it's not always like that. Sometimes you have the larger capacity, but my computer runs faster. So I got to eliminate the information. You got to play this game. So that's, you know, like when you get to the higher level guys, that's something that if their teams are really, really good, they're paying attention to that when they're watching tape. And that's what they're executing. The game plan has to revolve around that information as well.
That's fascinating. That's so fast. Like, yo, that's crazy. I never even thought of it in like that deep of a level. I've been watching.
Yeah, that's how we
forever.
do it, man. Like that's how we've been doing it for a while since GSP.
Wow.
You know, like one of the things that GSP talked about, like when he was fighting Johnny Hendricks, is he wanted to do the VADA testing because they weren't doing blood testing UFC all the time. And it was very rare at the time, right? So GSP is the whole reason why we had USADA come in and all that stuff. And what he was thinking was that when these guys take their test and their GH and all these different things, are they neurologically becoming faster? Not only are they getting bigger muscles and they run faster and they lift more and they recover better, but are their neurons firing faster? And we don't know. We don't know, but that's an X factor too that not a lot of guys talk about. Because imagine the race car drivers, imagine the reaction time.
Yeah.
But if they can take something to increase the reaction time, they can get a half second faster because they can cut the corner better, they can cut the guy off better. All of a sudden they're making
It's a completely different
millions
game.
of dollars even more.
Yeah.
And I'm sure the scientists are getting money from these companies and these sponsors to figure this out, right? So that's something that we have to worry about.
Yeah.
100%.
I would almost say I would think they are getting faster neurologically because
Possible.
I'm not saying I've done steroids, but
You've lost a lot of weight recently.
no, but honestly, like just everything improves. Like from your confidence to your ability to your speed to your power to just everything. Your overall mood. I don't see why it wouldn't. You know what I mean? It doesn't just affect your muscle size. Like it affects everything.
Yeah.
You know. So I would say there's a good chance.
There's a chance, man. There's a chance, and that's why we don't want the drugs in the game.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm already risking enough.
Do you think
to
they're
fight a guy
back though?
who's
Do you think the drugs are back since you saw this
I
gun?
mean, I don't know. Like some guys,
I see a lot of
some guys look
physiques
a lot
all
better.
of a sudden. Yeah, bro. I
Some
noticed
guys
it.
look a lot better, and some guys who took a dive, like not a dive, but not like a. I mean, they fell off a cliff physically when USADA came in, and now you're seeing them resurge. I don't want to name names, but some of them are very obvious. Yeah. And it's like they may have found a loophole now with this new company that's in. I don't know if they are or not, but it seems there might be a chance. Like Jose Aldo's back from retirement. That's an awkward one.
I love Jose though.
I love him. But listen, he's great. You know, he's great. It's so weird that he's back. Like the first thing people said was like, "Wait a second, he's back now."
Yeah, and
it's awkward.
Yeah, no,
he also did. He did try his hand at boxing. He lost, right? So
did he lose? I don't know. I didn't follow. I remember I saw his first one. He won. I don't know if he had more than.
I think he had 2 fights, but he went to boxing. Maybe he thought he was going to get that big payday.
I'm sure they paid him, brother. I'm sure.
I hope so, man.
100% they paid him.
Now that he's back in UFC, maybe he didn't get that payday.
Yeah, no, I don't know. Yeah, I don't want to accuse him directly, but like you never know. But it's just funny. I'm just saying that's what the MMA community was like. The first thing they popped in.
Well, I mean,
how's he back?
If you look at it logically, at his age, after all these years, I mean, hey,
you never know.
Yeah, it would. I mean, it would help. We'll put it that way. It would help his case. You know what I mean? Big time. So.
Yeah. And on that note, let's leave it at a mystery.
Yeah. Well, I mean, ain't none of my business.
We're getting to that time that what we do right now.
Yeah.
Tech, explain what we do with this.
All right, do I have to hand the gem in two?
Yeah, you're there.
I mean, I have T-Rex arms, so you're gonna have to meet me halfway. Yeah. So essentially, what you're gonna do is you're gonna hold this diamond here. Yeah. We call this segment, if you want to call it that, drop a gem. So just drop some life wisdom for anybody out there, the people that would help them further on in life.
Yeah. Okay. Well, what I would say is, you don't make it alone, so you have to build a good team around you, and you have to create an ecosystem of friends and family and support to help you achieve your dreams. Because in the end, if you think you made it to the top by yourself, it's very selfish, and you're not showing enough gratitude to the people that sacrifice along with you. Because in the end, you've leaned on somebody somehow, some way at one moment or another. And when you get to the top, it's a good time to pay it back to the next generation.
Awesome. That was amazing.
Hey, buddy, I think eventually you should start thinking of maybe having your own podcast.
I just started one. Guys, follow me on YouTube. Aiemann Zahabi.
Plug it.
Put me on YouTube. Guys, I started the YouTube channel, okay?
What's the YouTube channel?
Come check me out. I'm doing live streams with my wife. I'm going to bring in UFC fighters for the live streams when their UFC events are on. Technique videos. I'm going to have all kinds of stuff, breakdown videos, whatever you guys need. Dropping gems on my show.
Let's go.
I'll do gems on my show.
This was a great sit down that we had. We definitely have to have you back on the podcast.
Anytime, let me know.
I could have sat here for hours and hours.
Anytime.
But the Spaniards got a family. You got a family. You don't have a family. Like, okay, we have families. We have families, but we don't have our own families. You
didn't make it by yourself. She's all alone.
I got a cat, guys.
Yeah.
She's got a cat.
That's not bad.
It counts.
And on that note, she's got to go back to the cat. I got to go back home. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Hustle Podcast. We out.
Welcome, everybody. Y'all ready for this? The Hustle. My name is Steve Aramopoulos, and these are my co-hosts. I'm Talia. And I'm Tech Luciano. You may have heard me on radio. You may have never heard of me at all, but that's okay.
Y'all gon' learn today. Your whole life was a struggle, had to make it out the jungle. This is a show for you. Welcome to the hustle. Under pressure, never break a fold. Keep chasing your goals until you blow. Now, welcome to the hustle.
Get well introduced to all three of us.